And Shlomo. David ben Levish. L'chaim. We're holding page 79.
Blackberry?
Ois base.
What do you want?
Refuah Eliyahu ben Salika.
Fig?
Whatever. What doesn't?
Tell me.
No.
This I think is more sweet.
Whatever, yeah. You ready?
One second, we can say somebody else.
It's
Who?
לרפואת
Eliyahu ben Sukkah.
קח את הזמן רק. אייל בת נעמי.
Refuah Shalema.
אייל בת נעמי. בת אולי.
So we spoke about last week, if you remember, what we spoke about. Atahu Achaloi Nivra Olam. Hashem didn't do anything to create the world. It was almost like
Just happened.
automatically, almost.
Heavenly.
And we gave an example with a light, that when the light comes out from the bulb, the light doesn't do anything for the light to come from the light. It's just a natural thing. If there's light comes out. But I don't have to be active or creative to make it. So for Hashem, to make the world, He doesn't have to make an effort. It's because there's a light, automatically Hashem comes. The problem is that how do you feel it? How do you feel the
energy.
that light of Hashem, and that Hashem is everything and Hashem doesn't change and the essence of Hashem is the same? How do you make it work? So he says, V'hine, page 79, the third paragraph on Bet. 79. V'hine, Kedei she'ebchenes giluzeh, in order that we should feel the essence of Hashem revealed, hoyitzirchem lechol matzah. That's why they had to eat matzah. What does matzah got to do? Why, if I eat matzah, then I feel Hashem?
Makes you humble.
So he says, matzah al derech shel razal ein atinek yedei likas abba v'ima ad sheyitem dagan. There's a famous Gemara that says that when does a child have the recognition and the comprehension and understanding that there's a father and a mother? That means, meaning that he could say tati and mami and connect to it, is once he eats dagan. He has to eat one of the grain, the chamishe mini dagan. When he eats that, the dagan gives his mind the maturity to understand what father is and what mother is. So that means a kid that doesn't yet eat dagan doesn't really have the maturity yet. So what gives him the maturity? The wheat, the kernel has in it some kind of enzyme or some kind of strength that because of that you should be able to recognize your father and mother.
One of the opinions is that Adam HaRishon ate chita.
Yeah, according to one opinion. Yeah.
So
He ate what?
it's connected.
He ate
Chita
chita.
is wheat, the same thing. Wheat.
מה אתה מתכוון?
Oh, guess what?
כאילו העץ.
בחטא.
Yeah, some people. So the same thing with Hashem. Hashem is our father.
אוקיי.
He took us out of Mitzrayim. We were little kids. We didn't recognize our father Hashem till He gave us to eat matzah. Just like a kid, in order for them to recognize father and mother, they have to eat grain. For us to recognize our Father in heaven, we have to eat grain, which is matzah.
But didn't they recognize before with all the esomakot and everything?
Oh, so he says, look what he says. Kemoi hine yesh b'chinas dagan, kemoi ken al dei b'chinas matzah. By eating matzah, hikiru es elokus b'chinas mahusi v'atzmusai da es elokei avicha lashon hakara v'agasha. So two things happened. You're right, they believed in Hashem before.
Mm-hmm.
Every Jew believes in Hashem, but they didn't feel it.
Okay.
And they didn't connect to the essence of Hashem. So we gave many times the example, like someone, he believes in Hashem and he comes to daven in the shul that he should be successful in robbing the bank. You remember that? And he gives 20% to tzedakah and everything he can do. What happened? He knows there's Hashem because he's coming to shul to daven for Hashem. So it's not like he doesn't know. So what went wrong? What went wrong is he doesn't recognize it. I'll give you one more example because this is an important thing. It's called, in the Rambam, the first mitzvah of the Torah is not to believe in Hashem. That I don't have to give you a mitzvah. Everyone naturally believes in Hashem. You know what the first mitzvah of the Rambam says? Da.
You gotta know.
You have to feel him. He's not over there. He's right in you. And when you go to Chase Bank, he's right there. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a foreign idea. So
you also said that matzah is ego. So when you ego,
we're gonna get to that.
You feel someone else.
We're gonna get to that. But so you understand? So why do we eat matzah? For us to not only believe in Hashem, to recognize, just like a kid, when do they become mature? After they eat dagan. So our maturity as Jew becomes when we eat matzah. However, there's two types of matzah. The matzah they ate before midnight and the matzah that they ate the next morning. What's the difference? The difference is, that's the matzah they ate in Egypt before. It says, meaning you have to make sure it doesn't become chametz. You have to put an effort. You have to make sure it's baked before 18 minutes and roll the dough and everything. Okay? That's the first matzah that they ate when? Before Chatzot. However, the matzah that they ate the next morning when they left Egypt, it says like this. V'abeis shenigla sham nemar lo hispik petzeket shel aviseinu. What means lo hispik? The Jews didn't do anything to make sure it doesn't become chametz. It just couldn't become chametz. She'eni bola de chimutz klal. It's not the matzah I ate before midnight. I have to make sure that it doesn't become chametz. Right. The second matzah the next morning, they didn't do anything. Hashem revealed himself, and lo hispik betzeket shel aviseinu la'achmetz means it just couldn't become chametz. What's going on here? What's the difference? Why the first matzah, I have to make sure it stays matzah. The second matzah, it's going to be matzah even if I don't do anything. It's like Hashem takes care of it. What's the difference? He says, very interesting. We learned it in the Maimah Matzah Zu, if you remember, before Pesach. So if you want to understand the two different types of matzah, first you have to understand what chametz is and matzah. Then I'll explain to you the two different types. Chametz hu b'chinas hagbah v'isnasus. The first thing with chametz, it rises. Number two, yesh bo tam. It also has a good taste. Matzah hu b'chinas she'en ba goy v'isnasus klal. It doesn't rise. Ve'en ba tam klal. Right? Because matzah is made just flour and water. By chametz, you make it with, other things in it. So there's a taste. By matzah, there's no rising and no taste. By chametz, there's rising and taste. Guess what? Kamayim Razal, bola matzah yotza. Interesting. It says when you swallow matzah without chewing it. You just swallow it. Do you get?
What's the effect?
No. In other words, do you get the mitzvah of eating kazayit matzah?
Oh,
That's the question.
that's a good question.
Why? I didn't taste it. Lo ta'amti et zeh.
But if you
Can you just swallow, not taste?
Oh, this is the thing. So therefore, matzah, you do get the mitzvah because matzah, you don't have to taste it.
Challah.
Challah, you have to taste.
You have two.
Yeah. So matzah, I don't care if you don't taste it because matzah, you're not supposed to taste. Meaning there's no mitzvah to taste it. By moror, it doesn't work. Moror, you have to taste the bitterness. So if you swallow the horseradish without chewing it, you're not going to feel you don't get the mitzvah. So by matzah, I swallow it and I get the mitzvah because I don't have to taste it. Because matzah is the opposite of chametz. There's no rising and no tasting. So I could swallow it. Now it's interesting, I just want to share with you, interesting. Some people, what they do, they want to swallow the whole kazayit of matzah in one shot.
No way.
Wow.
Oh, that's what they do.
Who does it?
There are some people. And what they do is they chew, they take the matzah, let's say they take a half a matzah. They keep chewing it and not swallowing it. Till the whole matzah is chewed in their mouth, and now the whole mouth is full, and they swallow it in one shot.
Then you choke.
Almost, yeah.
Because
Because they want to eat the kazayit bevat achat.
הם לא שמורים שום.
Yeah, Rabbi Shain, you don't allow to have water with it.
Yeah, no, I'm just
That's very,
saying.
very hard. That's very hard.
You understand the idea? Because you want to swallow it. Now, over there, you're not tasting it. The way you're doing it, there's no way you're going to have a taste. You can't. It's too,
if matzah in your mouth too long, it can be lachmitz.
yeah, but there's no chametz when it gets into your mouth. Once it's into your mouth, there's no such thing as chametz.
לא שומרים שמורים.
Okay? No, there's no. Kamei kain. So now you understand what matzah is?
Yeah.
Doesn't have a taste and it's humble. Kamei kain ba'avoda. Now let's take it spiritually. Iya matzah b'chinas bitul. What does bitul mean? Batel ritzoncha.
I'm not in the
What I want, I push it away. It's what Hashem wants. There's no I want.
It's not hard.
So what does matzah mean? Matzah means I work on myself, that there's no I want.
Only you.
It's whatever Hashem wants.
Hashem, only Hashem.
That was the first matzah. Why? Because you had to work on yourself of batal ritzoncha b'chinas eskafia. It wasn't easy. It's eskafia means to go lechpot, to force yourself. It's like the famous expression in Torah is you have to force yourself not to do what you want to do, and to do what you don't want to do.
Shlita.
You understand? You have to go. Shelo yeh b'chinas gasas haklipa. Look what he says here. Shebchinas gasut. You know what gasut is?
Gasut, yeah.
Avi avot hatuma.
Yeah.
I want to explain to you what that means. In Tuma, there's avi avot, there's av, rishon, sheni, shlishi, revi'i. That's the lowest. So avi avot is the dead body itself.
The worst.
Avi is I touch the dead body. So now I'm avi. You understand? I'm not avi avot. So I touch. So now I'm avi. Now I touch this rishon. This touches this sheni, shlishi, and then revi, and that's it. It can't go further than that. It stops. So in ruchniyut, what's avi avot atuma? Gasut.
Wow.
It's the source of all evil.
Gasut ruach.
Yeah, you feel the I.
Gasut ruach.
That's the source. That's interesting also. When we went to Eretz Yisrael, we're supposed to conquer 7 nations. Chiti, Amori, Prizi, Husi. What's with Amalek? What happened to Amalek? Because Amalek, it says Timcha,
Ve'avot.
Etzecha Amalek. Why don't we count it as part of one of the nations? There should be 7 plus Amalek. Because Amalek, okay, he didn't live there, he lived the next town. The Torah says the 7 nations represent the 7 midot. Ro'ot. Tava, Ka'as, Kina, the 7 thing. Okay. So that you have to conquer. No, you conquer it, you take the Tava, you make it Ahava. It's Hashem. The Ka'as, you make love. Everything you change. But then there's the source of all the 7. Amalek. What was he? Chutzpah, Gava. So Avi Avot, that's Gasut. So now I have to make matzah. What do we mean make matzah? I have to smash iskafia. I have to push myself not to have gasut haruach. So it's a constant avodah, which is va'ar tahara. V'zeu al dei b'chinas matzah. That's the first matzah that they ate before midnight. Gam eloshen matzah umeriva. Look on next page 80. She milchama gedola levatal yesh. Guess what? It's a very big struggle to get rid of the I, to ego. It's not easy. So that's why matzah also has the translation of matzah umeriva, because you're fighting against your ego. It's not easy. Okay, finally I pushed myself, and I made a kosher matzah. But guess what? The first matzah that they ate before midnight, they also had to eat it with mortar. It says, al matzot umeromim b'chulu. The second matzah they ate the next morning, there was no mortar. So the first matzah, they had mortar. Why? Ki b'chinas matzah zu, the first matzah is batal ritzoncha. You have to go against your will, right? Against the ego. But how do you get that? How are you able to go against your ego? You need to be moror. You have to realize, become bitter, who you are. When you're bittered, then you could now get to the matzah, which is go against your ego. You understand? So in other words, for me to become matzah, which means to get rid of my ego, I need to have moror. Moror means I'm bittered. I realize how low I am, and how far I am, and how distant I am. That makes me bitter. But that bitterness helps me to get out of my ego and become the matzah. So the bitterness is not sadness, because in Torah there's no sadness. It's just, I feel bittered in the situation I'm in, and I want to get out, I want to jump out of it. So the mortar makes me feel bitter, and now I could fight my ego and use matzah, and then I don't have any more ego.
You know, this is why Rabbeinu Roy always brings sushi. It's full of maror. They call, what they make wasabi is maror.
You understand? Yeah, I don't know. I know.
They make it.
Understand why the maror is making you fight your ego.
Because the translation of the word morar means bitter. Merirut. So the idea is that you should start to think how low you are and become bittered. It's not the taste of the morar. It's the morar has to become, you have to become morar. You have to become bittered of your lowliness and realize I want to get out of my situation. That's why morar you have to taste. Because morar I have to feel bittered. I have to feel verbittered. So then when I feel bittered, I want to jump out. And now I want to become matzah. Now we understand another thing. On the Seder table, everyone makes a kara, right? So where do you put the zorayas on the right? The beit's on the left, the morah is in the middle. I don't know if you notice. Right, left, and middle. The morah is in the center. But we would think that morah should be on the left, gevura. Because zoraya is chesed. And the left is gevura. No, we put it in the center. Why you put morah in the center? What does morah got to do with rachamim? So he says, I'll tell you why. V'hinei seder haka'ara hu morah be'emtza. The way we do the ka'ara is that the morah is in the middle. Why? B'chinas kav emtzai. What's the middle line? It's called tifesh, which is rachamim. Which means that, what does it mean? The morah should have been on the left, because morah is bitter and it's strong. I'll tell you why it's in the middle. When a person is bittered, he awakens that Hashem should have a lot of mercy. When does Hashem have mercy? You know when Hashem has mercy on you? When you feel that it's not good. I'm not in a good situation. And I feel bittered. That's when Hashem has Rachmanas on me. Why? Because if I feel everything is good, so then I don't have to have Rachmanas on you.
What?
When is Hashem going to have Rachmanut on you if you feel that it's not good? But if you say to Hashem, there was once a chassid that came to the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov asked him, could I give you a bracha, something? He says, no, everything is good in me. He said, your children, everything is good. Everything is good. There's nothing you need a blessing for. Nothing. Everything is good.
So you need the blessing for.
And then he says, if that's the case, then you need a blessing. Meaning, if a person thinks everything is good,
definitely.
then you're in a big problem.
It's something.
But maybe
It's like-
it's good because he's thankful, like he's happy with what he's getting.
No, not what he's getting, but yourself. Are you good with yourself? Do you feel complete? If you feel you're so good, there's something wrong. It's funny, someone called today, a kid, it's a family has a few kids, and they said, we're sending 2 kids to this yeshiva, could you take one of the kids? I said, I don't understand. If you're going to a yeshiva that's taking all the other kids, why they're not taking this kid?
Yeah.
If they're taking all the kids, why one? Is something wrong with this kid that they're only sending this kid? Could you tell me the truth? What's going on? If they're taking all the kids, why not?
Yeah.
Oh no, he's a tzaddik. He's one of the greatest tzaddikim, and he's such a great tzaddik. He can't fit in the other school. Only in Chabad they take tzaddikim. He's such a high tzaddik. Anyways, but the point here is that if a person doesn't feel that he's incomplete, then it's a problem. So a person has to have mirirut on himself, not mirirut of the surrounding around him, about his person. I'm not a good, complete person. Always be bittered, not depressed and not sad, bittered. So you're going to have Hashem have rachmanut, and then you'll get out of it. That's the motto. It makes sense saying? So, someone that's on a high level and he's not missing anything, what am I going to have rachmanas if he has everything? Now, if you want Hashem to have rachmanas on you, how do you have Hashem have rachmanas on you? How do you become bitter? You should sit a few minutes and understand. Remember we spoke about it last week. All the energy of the whole world that makes everything exist is only a little shine of Hashem. But the essence of Hashem, Ani Hashem, Lo Shanisi Atahu Achaloi Nivra Elam Atahu Mishanib Chineshvei Levad. Ve'in Pailam Ba Yishum Shinu Kein Lo Tchila Ve'in Lo Tichla. By God, you could say Ein Lo Tchila Ve'in Lo Tichla. Everything else you could say Ein Sof Ein Lo Tchila, but you can't say Ein Lo Tchila because everything else had a beginning, which is Hashem made it. Nothing just is here. The only one that you could say Em L'Tchila is Hashem. So now I think to myself, the whole world is all existing on a little shine of Hashem's light. But Hashem himself is far beyond it. So how far am I from Hashem? Oh! So that makes me bitter, and I want to just say, Hashem, I just want to be with you. Then you're going to become bittered. He's going to be so bitter. He's going to awaken a lot of mercy. You understand? So the bitterness is realizing how far you are from Hashem. The essence of Hashem. The essence of Hashem that never changed. Guess what? We say in the Birchat Shema every morning like this. In Yotzar, the first bracha, HaMelech HaMeramam Levadai Me'oz. Hainu, what does it mean? God is above everything from the beginning. Everything comes from Malchus. God himself is above everything. There's no, you can't even connect to, and there's no change. Hamisnase means he's above. Mimoit means from the source of the days of the world, which is the 6 sfirot, 7 sfirot, he's above. So that means Hashem is so high, and where am I? I'm so low. And then we say, B'rachamecha harabim Rachem Aleinu. Why? Because when I realize how far I am from Hashem, the essence of Hashem, then we say Hashem, Elokei Elam, Rachamecha harabim, Rachem Aleinu. Because I realize how low I am. Now you could have Rachmanas on me, but which Rachmanas? Rachamecha. Your Rachmanas that has no limit. Rachem Aleinu. Please. V'im Kain, that's why the Mora is Kaveh Emtzai. You understand now why Mora is the middle? Because Rachamim is the middle. Chesed is the right, Gevur is the left, and Rachamim, Tiferet is the middle. When you have Mora, and you're bitter about your situation, and you want to get out of it, now you're going to get to Matzah. What's Matzah? Batal Ritzoincha. I don't have any more ego, B'chinas Eskafia, B'li Tam, B'li Shum Esnasus, V'agbo, and this Matzah you have to work on yourself. It's not easy not to have. U'shmartem es hamatzah. So you have to make sure shaloi tavil dechimutz chas v'shalom. You have to always work. There's no such a thing to fall asleep. It's like, the war is over. 2 days ago, yesterday, the war was over. But we can't go to sleep, guys. The evil is still there.
Yeah.
The evil is still there. We gotta wake. We gotta be awake and alert and have our agents still working full time. If you're going to go to sleep, it's going to become chametz again. Same thing with us. If we're going to sleep and we're not going to make sure we have matzah, we're going to be ego. We're going to have the chametz again. So which matzah is this? The matzah from before midnight. That's from what they ate when they were still in Mitzrayim. V'zeh kol b'chinas matzah rishona, b'chinas sisus l'tata. Well, okay, that's what we do. But guess what? After we made this first matzah, and we ate the mortar, we feel bitter, and we broke our ego, and we're now a matzah, we're totally humble. Now we're going to merit to get the matzah of Hashem. There's two types of matzah. There's my matzah, which is humbleness that I create. Then there's a higher level matzah, which is from Hashem, which you totally don't exist. It's just Hashem. That's the second matzah the next morning. With that, can never become chametz. And that you don't have to do anything because you're so nullified to Hashem that there's no way any ego could come out of it ever. The difference between a Beinani and a Tzaddik. What's the difference? In Tanya, he speaks about it in chapter 9, 10, 11. A Beinani has an animal soul, but he's full control. He doesn't have any thoughts that are animalistic, any words or any action. And it's a constant fight. Every day he's fighting his animal instincts, his animal desires, his animal action, and he's fighting and he's fighting and he's keeping matzah, he's keeping matzah. Yeah. A tzaddik, what happens by a tzaddik? He has no animal anymore. It's all became godly. So his whole desire is just God. So the first matzah, we're still fighting. Matzah meriva. We have to get rid of the ego, and that's by eating more, and we become bittered, and we realize how low we are, and we ask Hashem, but the second matzah, look what he says, you get to the second, you become so nullified to Hashem that you don't even exist to begin with. The first matzah, you still exist, and you're just breaking your ego. There's you, and you break your ego. The second matzah, that you don't exist, it's all Hashem. That's the real bittul. You can't become chametz to begin with. When you're holding this level, there's no way you're going to have any chametz.
Your life is easier as a tzaddik.
Yeah, but you know what? An interesting thing? The Maggid of Mezrich said that after 120 years, he's going to ask Hashem to reward him for his first 25 years of his life.
To become a tzaddik.
Why? Because he had to become the tzaddik. Once he became a tzaddik, it was just, there was nothing else he wanted.
Then it's like the light.
It's like,
if you take Rabbi Akiva as a example, he was a big tzaddik, no one can argue, but after he came out from the cave, after 12 years,
After
12 years, he was the big tzaddik and everything, but still, he did a big, mistake when he went out.
oh, he burned.
So the people, they burned and everything. So sometimes even if you are, you know, you can at this level, you can confuse.
You remember that thing he said?
It wasn't
השמיד את עולמי, אבל הוא לא עשה משהו.
מרוב שאתה למעלה, האגו שלך באיזשהו מקום לא נותן לך.
הוא לא עשה
זה היה זמני, והייתה שנה אחרי זה חזרה.
שנה בפנים.
So what do we say?
נו, אז זה מה שאני אומר.
אבל זה לא עשה משהו.
The next day,
הוא לא עשה משהו רע. הוא אבל...
Yeah.
מה אתם בזמן?
Till the egel. Till the egel hazahav.
אין אותו, סבתא.
why get us up? After 2 days they complain.
אמר להם, מה זה חצפו?
Ah, Yam Suf. So some say it was the eight of Rav. The complainers were the eight of Rav, not the Bnei Yisrael. So Bnei Yisrael Yatsu Mitzrayim,
Right.
but the eight of Rav Gamal, they didn't get that second matzah.
Okay.
They can't get that second matzah. That's for Bnei Yisrael.
לא, היה משהו בזה. לפעמים זה גם קשה. לפעמים שוכח מפבטה.
I'll tell you two stories. So the Maggid of Mezrich said that the first 25 years he had to work on this. But he said an interesting thing. It's 100 times harder to become from a Beinani to a Tzaddik than to be a Beinani. Meaning, a Beinani means I have to always fight my thought, my speech and action. I have to be on guard. But to transform my animal and to become totally tzaddik, there's so much more effort to become that tzaddik. It's not an easy thing. So that's one thing to remember. Another thing, they were just interesting to show you what a tzaddik means. When someone asks you what's your thought about something? The first thought that comes to your mind, is that the animal thought or is that the godly soul thought?
That's a good question.
I'll give you an example.
Good question.
It's a very tricky question.
The first thought. So someone asked the Rebbe, when a person asks you a question, you give them an answer. But what do you give them an answer? How come this one you give this answer? He says, whatever comes up in my mind first, that's the answer I give. By us, it doesn't work like that. I'll tell you why. We have an animal soul. So our thought that pops up first, it could be the animal soul is popping it.
Then we need to control.
And now we have to shoot it with a missile the other way, which is the godly soul, and say, no, that we gotta... But by a tzaddik, it's not like that. A tzaddik, he only has a godly soul. So his first thought means that's the right thing. So I want to tell you a story. There was, I don't remember which tzaddik was. I think it was one of the Chernobyl. A lady came to him and said, I have to marry off my daughter and I need 300 ruble, whatever it was. So the tzaddik said, okay, I hear, and come back to me another day. The next guy that came into the Rebbe to get a bracha gives the Rebbe 300 ruble. Gives him that amount.
I know this story.
You remember the story? So the Rebbe said, oh, that's for that lady. Because that lady came for me to marry off the daughter. That's the first thought. But then he had a second thought. He said, I'm going to give 300 ruble to one person. Why don't I take 10 poor people and give each one 30? At least I'm helping 10 people. To give one person 300? And he had this debate back and forth. Should I give her 300? But then he said, it was my first thought that entered my mind. That's the thought that I'm going to do. And that's what he did. But that's only by a tzaddik. By us, how could you say how at first thought, our second thought?
Oh, but also the 300 came right after she wanted, so obviously there is a sign.
100%. But I'm saying to say by...
The tzaddik that said that he's a Benoni, no? And then
Rabba said.
It said that I'm a Benoni. Then if he's Benoni...
Then we're talking nothing.
But I don't know.
He ended up being a
I
tzaddik.
studied with a guy from 770 at one point, and he said that by definition, it's coming from, I think it's coming from Chabad, that everyone is Benoni. So there is no
Everyone could be a Benoni. We're not always a Benini. Sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're Rashayim.
No, but there's no really Rashai because Rashai is really.
No. Rasha here.
And then there is no really tzaddikim because how many people you can tell that they don't have neshama be'emet.
Rasha. Most of us are Rasha. Let me explain to you what I mean. Every time we have a thought that we entertain a bad thought, not that we have and we push it away, but we entertain it. So that moment that I entertained that thought, even for that minute, now I became a Rasha in that thought.
I wish I was always Benoni.
Oh, we can't. Halavai. Words. If I say a word not so positive, so now I became a Rasha for that moment. It doesn't mean it stays with you. You understand? I became a Rasha for that moment, for that act. But by a tzaddik, for example, he doesn't even have the thought to have to challenge. He never has a thought in him that's not a good thought.
This is the tzaddik.
Tzaddik. You understand?
So you're taking it apart. You're saying every minute I'm
trying to
you
control.
Can be Rasha or Benoni.
That's it.
When he explained it to me,
But
he said, I'm looking at you all the time. It's like the average of you. And then he said, the average of us is always we are Benoni. Like,
no, we could be a Benoni. We're not a Benoni. We could be. We can't.
אם היית יודע, מה זה הבינוני? בינוני.
V'nigla aleim chinazu, page 81, the top right. Ki machma shehayu oz yisod madega shelo. Since we were such a low level, mishukoim ben aklipas kidua. So Hashem revealed himself the next morning, and by Hashem revealing himself, all of a sudden we're able to go out of our galut. And there was no morar. Why was there no morar the next morning? It was a revelation of Hashem. When Hashem is so strong revealed in you, there's no way you're going to have any ego or any anger or any hisnasud, because if Hashem is revealed so strong in you, you're totally nullified to Hashem. The first matzah, that's why they had to have morar. Now let's finish this thing, and we'll finish this ois. Look what he says. Listen, Chaveh, this is the Haggadah. I hope you remember it for next year. Morar zeh she'anu oichlim al shuma. Why do we eat morar? So we say, what is morar? Morar means you feel bittered of your situation and you want to get out of it. So look what he says. Al shum shemiriru hamitzim es chaye aviseinu b'mitzayim. We eat the morar because the Egyptians bittered the life of our fathers in Mitzrayim. So look what he says. Aviseinu heim hamidot. When you say Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, is chesed, gevura, teferes. So when I say Aviseinu, it means our emotions. What's chaye Aviseinu? It says, Shemiru hamitzim es Aviseinu. No, es chaye Aviseinu. So there's Aviseinu, which is the midot. What's chaye Aviseinu? What gives the midot its life? The mochin, the intellect. In other words, why do I feel a certain way? Because that's how I think. Your mind is what gives you the feeling. So look what he says. So what he's saying is very simple. That when they were in Egypt, they weren't just in Egypt. Their midot were also caught up in Egypt. That means instead of having Avat Hashem and Yirat Hashem and Rachmanut Hashem, it was Ta'avot, all the things. And not only that, Chaye, even our Mochin, our way of thinking was wrong. So what do? We eat morar to get us out of the negative midot, get us out of the negative thinking, and now we could have a Chayrut Seinu, we could get out of it. So basically, you can't really experience matzah if you don't have morar. Because morar makes you understand how low you are and how you have to get out of yourself. And then you can become to the matzah, which is to become totally humble to Hashem. Clear? But the matzah of Hashem, then you don't exist to begin with. That's called Ein Od Milvadoi. There's two levels, Ein Od Milvadoi or Ein Od. How can Ein Od? What's the difference? Ein Od means there's nothing else. Ein Od Milvadoi, there's nothing else but you. But there's but you and me. It's also Ein Od means there's nothing. It's all Hashem. That's the second matzah. And that you don't have to have moral because there's nothing to be bitter. There's your tzaddik. And that matzah, you don't have to even watch to become chametz because there's no chametz. There's no way it can become chametz. I just make you feel a little good, and we'll end. Manas Friedman said like this: there are some things that we're tzaddikim. There's some things we're beinanim, and some things risha'im. For example, you ever heard of shatnez?
Yeah.
Do you have a desire to put on shatnez?
No.
Is it something you have to fight and struggle with? I don't want to wear. I want to wear shatnez, but I'm going to fight my yetzer hara. No one has any desire for shatnez. Who wants to wear wool and linen? I don't even want to wear wool. You know what I mean? So on that thing, we're like tzaddikim. When it comes to shatnez, no one wants to even have a desire for it. But when it comes to food, now we have a struggle. We're eating for the sake of Hashem. We're eating with them. And then when it comes to Lashon Hara, we're gone. But I just want to tell you one little Lashon Hara. You know that guy? Okay. L'chaim, and the neshama for Eliyahu ben Shlomo, and David ben Labish, and Eliyahu ben Salika, for Shalema, and Naomi,
Eyal bat Naomi.
and for Shalema. Rabbi Hanani ben Akashem, Baruch Baruch Hu.